welcome back to a paper introducing literature on that the first module titled Language and its Literary Nuances. So the first module introduces literature, which is divided actually into two parts. The first part deals with the syntax of language, while the second part deals with the literary techniques which transform ordinary language into a literary language. So we have seen that thing in the first two video lectures of our class. So what is the beauty of writing? So we have discussed this thing. The beauty of any writing is the ability of the writer to effectively employ language to construct meaning. So the syntax, which is the arrangement of words. So here we have language, the beautiful language in general, and that of a particular structure. So a language functions to express moods and emotions of the individual. Language is inseparable from human beings. That is, human beings cannot survive without language. So the reason is that in all our activities we employ language, overtly or covertly. So the transmission of shared knowledge, customs and beliefs, feelings, ideals and attitudes would be practically impossible without language. It is one of the closest things to man and very fundamental to his self-fulfillment. That is, it is the most important part of a total system of human behavior in society. We shall see again, like language has been defined fractionally as a means of communicating ideas, communicating emotions and desire by means of a system of voluntary produced symbols, isn't it so? So that is language. So it is a variety of speech or a body of words and a mode of expressing thought and feelings of the society or an individual. So what is language? Language is the most effective means of dissemination of information. So and as we have been dealing with literature, so there are writers, they do not just disseminate information, isn't it? Anyhow, but in an appropriate way based on a genre of our paper, language, literary nuances. So there are poets. So this particular section, module 1, which is discussing on poetics, syntax and poetry. So a writer, a poet must, he is a person who is using language to communicate his view to the society before his meaning can be deducted. Isn't it so? So since there is no meaning without communication, communication is a central and fundamental aspect of all human interaction. Though communication is an individual dissemination of both written and spoken information, every human being communicates with another in speech community. So what is literature then? So literature mirrors life. It employs the imagination and the resources of language to represent or the present important fact of life. It is the use of words to create an illusion of life. So it is something that the language that make all the difference from an ordinary language. So in subtotal, the use of language is something that provides the rules, while literature expands the rules to produce the best expression in the language. It is in the creative and stylistic way, that is how we are employing words in or how we are syntax the arrangement of words, that of using language that make it different from other discourses. Okay, so in that, poetry as one of the genres of literature that explores language in a unique way that differentiate it from other genres such as prose and drama. So that is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. That is a definition which is given for poetry by Wordsworth. So poetry uses elevated and pleasurable language in a unique way. So there is a particular Webster's dictionary which is defined in poem as this: an arrangement of words in verse, especially rhythmical composition of ideas emotions in a style more concentrated, imaginative, and powerful than ordinary speech. So, what is poetry then? What is your definition you are giving for poetry? So, what is poetry? It springs from deep human impulses and fulfill human needs. Okay, poetry is deeply involved in the expression of emotions such as love, hate, pain, joy, grief, etc. So all these feelings more can communicate to the reader, communicate with the audience, and proper choice of words. A language which includes style, and we can call them as stylistics. So this is literary nuances. So we are dealing with nuances. What is nuance? Nuance refers to a slight and subtle difference in shades of meaning. So there are two kinds of thing which is known as denotation and connotations. The lot many connotation, the same thing can be interpreted in multiple ways. So something that is nuanced has many different shades of meaning, the same way that a photo might have many different shades of gray. So again we are saying like nuances refers to slight and subtle differences in shades of meaning. It is sometimes difficult to understand, but there are two elements that contribute to nuance, that is connotation, or the ideas and feelings associated with a specific word, and again the second one is subtext, or what's going on beneath the surface of the writing. So the choice of language used in poetry to convey the idea of the poet is of a great importance. Okay, the language is calling us the diction, carries a metaphorical meaning through the creative use of language. The poet carefully selects his words that contain concrete meanings that needed to be broken down to readers to understand. So these words are syntactically arranged. How? These words are syntactically arranged to achieve kind of a style and stylistic effects. So these effects of the poetic language indicate the peculiarity of how they are used by poets. Poets enjoy language immunity to do harm to normal grammatical structure, so as to project certain ideas. So when we ponder over any poems of reference, we can find this too. So beautifying language or generate new expressions that will jolt us out of our mental stupor. So this immunity is called the poetic license. It enables the poets to use language in their own way, and their own way means a customized or specialized manner. So that particular kind of language, that giving them how language is used in literary piece. And when we are analyzing the possible meanings of work of art, there is a bridge between language and literature. So that is we have to explore the literary text for that. So we have here syntax and poetics. So the first module, which is divided between syntax and poetics. So syntax, what is syntax? We have seen this already. So is the arrangement of words to form a sentence. For example, the sentence, the boy ran hurriedly. So reads differently when the arrangement differs. Hurriedly, the boy ran. So there is a slight difference, but syntax in each sentence conveys a different meaning and perhaps a really different mental image. So what is syntax then? Syntax is the order of words and phrases in creating a sentence. So here we have the syntax states the rules for using words, phrases, and clauses and punctuation specifically to form sentences. And correct syntax examples include word choice, a matching number, a tense, and placing words and phrases in the right order. So is there there must be a question which is popping on your mind, like, is there a difference between syntax and grammar then? So yes, there are differences. So it is like a grammar is something that is a set of rules that set forth to correct the standard use of a language, but syntax is the study of sentence and the structure. and the construction within sentence. So syntax is something that is giving us an idea what goes where in a sentence. So how we can employ a particular word order, all these things in a sentence. So when we talk about poets, they use language in a different way, which include like prices, poetry that attributes and appellations, and so there are different types of poetry. So the language used by them, variations of languages, the use of expressions and feelings to the society. So a language may refer either specifically to human capacity for acquiring and using complex system of communication, or a specific instance of such complex system of science for encoding and decoding information. So our language is our human language faculty is thought to be fundamentally different and of much higher complexity from those of other creatures. Human language is highly complex in that it is based on a set of rules relating to symbols for the meaning. And this is how we are defining syntax. Syntax in literature, how we have to give a function of syntax. So the language that used in literature is different from ordinary language. While scientific and ordinary language are objective and direct, literary language is creative and imaginative. So the arrangement of words and sentences are placed together. So sin and tax. So these two, which is very important, syntax. So the particular word syntax, which is coined from the Greek word syn, syn. Syn means together, and tax mean arranged. So that denotes an orderly or systematic arrangement of parts or elements. And more generally, these elements involve symbols, including mathematical one maybe, and how we are arranging to create preposition or statement, and the symbols, and the punctuation marks, the line shape, stanza form, a metrical scheme, and rhyme patterns, which are also important for understanding poetic syntax. Poetry and syntax. So here we have this kind of thing that to achieve a lyrical, rhythmic, rhetoric or questioning effect, syntax is using. It is not related to the act of choosing specific word actually, but it is even the meaning of each word or the overall meanings conveyed by the sentences. So in the textbook we have the syntactic levels of the transitive and intransitive verb, again which is discussing what is inversion, what is sense group, what is adjunct, collocation, parataxis and hypotaxis. So these are the things which the first part of the language and its literary nuance discussing with syntactic level. And there we have another part in the module 1 which is discussing poetics. So what is poetics? So we shall have a QQ on what is poetics. So poetics is a special way of saying things. So that is we have seen it is not an ordinary language. A literary language is creative and imaginative. So ordinary language that conveys simple messages, but literature deals with complex emotions that people experience in their lives. So it is then important to understand the structure of a language in order to understand the literature. Okay, and so any literature which is very different. While we talk about Malayalam literature and English literature, there is lot many difference in the structure of words of each writers are choosing like. So in the section poetics we have the terms like comparison, imagery, metaphor, simile, personification, hyperbole, syllables, rhythm, meter. So these are the terms we have to discuss here, and the poetics. So let me ask you one thing. What is poetics? So what is a poetic language? So poetic language, which is different from the ordinary language. So it may be the tools or the sounds or the meaning that a poet uses in the poem that make the reader more surprised. So it make the readers more vivid and complex, or it make an interest among the readers while they read a particular poem. So the idea the poets uses in the language, that is something that is giving meaning rather than what is around with the theme of the poem. So language in poetry that involve the reader in the text. So it placing an importance of reader participation in the construction of meaning. Okay, here we have again alliteration, assonance. So these are the things you might have heard and studied in your school days or the plus two days. So assonance, imagery, metaphor, onomatopoeia, personification, refrain, and rhythm. So we have the elements of poetry like voice, diction, imagery, figures of speech, syntax, sound, rhythm, meter, and structure. So there is a lot many difference between ordinary language and the poetic language. Ordinary language we use in our everyday lives. Poetic language, for example, refers the more artistic form of ordinary language. Okay, now we shall see the two aspects of syntax. The first one, which is transitive and intransitive verb. Okay, there's a transitive verb and intransitive verb. So for that, verbs in English, which can be divided into two groups, that is transitive and intransitive verb. So the question arises when what is a transitive verb. So this is the criteria in which every poet they make use of these kind of parameters in the language to make distinguish of the style of one writer from another writer. So they are using the occasions like they may be using transitive verb and intransitive verb. So here we have exploring a lot many poems and short stories of famous writers to explore with the syntactical and poetical devices that they use that makes them unique from the other writers. So here we have the transitive verb, that verb require an object to complete their meaning. Okay, for example, here is I bought. I bought. So we know that the sentence here is incomplete. Why? There is a kind of an information that is missing here. So that is something you are probably wondering what I bought. And so why again there is why this sentence incomplete, because both is the past tense of the word buy, the verb buy. So that is a transitive verb, and a transitive verb needs an object after to complete the sentence. So the object after transitive verb can be a noun, it can be a pronoun. So how can we rewrite that particular sentence into a transitive verb? So we can say like I bought a car. We can say like I bought a car. Okay, I bought a car. So now the sentence is complete and we can understand it. We added the object a car after the verb. So we have a lot many other examples with that. So she likes. She likes. Is that complete or incomplete? She likes. Okay, this particular sentence is also incomplete and it is incorrect. So she likes what, and what does she like? So like is a transitive verb, so we need an object after the verb. So like she likes chocolate, and now we know that she likes, so this sentence is complete and correct. She likes chocolate. I invited Angelica. And you cannot say just say I invited. because the sentence is incomplete. When we say like I invited Angelica, so the person who is listening would probably ask, whom did you invite? When we say I invited. So we need an object in this case, a person after a transitive verb. What? I invite. I cut. I cut. So if the sentence is like I cut, we need furthermore an object. So the sentence here is I cut my finger. So you cannot just say I cut because the sentence is incomplete. The person who is listening would probably ask, cut what? Cut is a transitive verb because you need to cut something. You cut like an object or a thing. Next, the sentence like the man stole a bike. So we need to say what the man stole in order to understand the sentence. So steal or stole, the past tense of the steal has a transitive verb again. So the object is in this sentence is the bike. So we have seen that transitive verbs need an object after them. So what? It needs an object after them. This object receives the actions of the verb. So transitive verbs always ask what or whom. So like what did you buy? So there is a sentence we have that I bought a car. And what did you cut? I cut my finger. And whom did she invite? I invited Angelica. So the structure is goes like subject plus transitive verb plus object. So these same rules we can apply with the phrasal verbs too. So in the particular sentence, you know phrasal verbs, that is verb plus the preposition, verb plus preposition. So if someone says I'm looking for, she would automatically think looking for what, and looking for whom. So we need to add an object to make the sentence what? Complete. So like we can say like I looking for my passport. So my passport is the object that I'm looking for. And now we have this thing, transitive verbs here. So lot many examples which is given again. So we enjoyed the concert, I opened the door, she kicked the ball, she took me to a restaurant, I saw an accident, he copied my answer. Okay, so that is transitive verbs. Next, we are moving on to intransitive verbs. Is there a difference between transitive and intransitive? Transitive is followed by an object. So, what will be the difference? So, intransitive verbs cannot have a direct object after them. That is the difference. So the subject is doing the action of the verb and nothing receives the action. An intransitive verb does not pass the action to an object. For example, in the sentence he arrived, okay, he arrived or she arrived. Here we cannot have an object after the intransitive verb arrive. We cannot arrive something incorrect. You cannot arrive something. So an intransitive verb expresses an action that is complete in itself. It does not need an object to receive the action. Okay. For example, in the sentence, the baby smiled. The baby smiled. Here, we cannot have an object after the intransitive verb. What is the intransitive verb here? Smiled. You cannot smile something. The smile smiled something. So that is incorrect. So the second example, the apple fell from the tree. The apple fell from the tree. You cannot fall something. So the verb is intransitive. From tree is not an object. It is an adverbial phrase. Tree is not an object, but it is an adverbial phrase. Adverbial phrase means it acts like an adverb and tells us where it happened. So that is the adverbial phrase. And the same rules apply to intransitive phrasal verbs also. You cannot have an object after intransitive phrasal verbs too. And I get up at 6 every morning. Okay. So there we have a lot many examples more, we arrived around midday, she sneezed loudly, and your baby cries a lot, rain fell heavily, we sat on the bench He stood on the corner. We waited, but nobody came. Okay, we shall just have a sum up of what is. There are exceptional cases like in between verbs that are intransitive and intransitive. So many verbs can be both transitive and intransitive. They can be transitive in one sentence and intransitive in another sentence. So take this example. So you have grown since I last saw you. Grown since I last saw you, that is intransitive. When you have this sentence like you have grown a beard, since I last saw you. You've grown since I last saw you, that is intransitive. You have grown a beard since I last saw you, that is transitive. So sometimes the meaning changes depending on whether the verb is transitive and intransitive. For example, in the intransitive sentence, intransitive verb run, here take this sentence: he runs along the beach every morning. Okay, he runs along the beach every morning. He runs a small grocery store, that is transitive. Okay, so this is how the same verb can be transitive and intransitive. Like I stopped the car, so transitive. The car stopped. I broke my coffee mug. My coffee mug broke. The summer heat melted my ice cream. My ice cream melted. The transitive, she speaks Arabic, and the intransitive, she speaks very quickly. Mike is reading a book. Mike is reading. New Zealand won the match. New Zealand won. That is the intransitive. So a good dictionary will tell you whether a verb is a transitive or intransitive. So we shall just have a summing up of transitive and intransitive. We shall have a summing up of transitive and intransitive with this like transitive verbs needs an object. So I bought a car. Intransitive cannot have an object. For example, the baby smiled. So words that are transitive and intransitive we have seen already, I stopped the car stopped, depending on transitive verb and intransitive verb. Okay, so this is all about how we are arranging words. For poetic purpose, the writers, they use this kind of a phenomena, transitive and intransitive, to make a more reliable of the work. So this is very important. So verbs which can take a single verb and transitive and intransitive, which is important. That is all about this lecture. So thank you. We shall see in the next class with a new idea from module 1. Thank you.